Fingers begin to wrinkle when submerged in water for long periods of time because they absorb water. No, this isn't true. They actually wrinkle because the brain simply tells them to. Now, the question is, why does the brain tell your fingers to wrinkle when underwater for too long? The two most popular theories are that the wrinkling helps give better grip while underwater, which isn't very widely accepted. The other theory goes that your brain tells your fingers to wrinkle as kind of a way to prevent water from entering your skin. While on the topic of water, the whole don't swim after eating because it will give you cramps isn't correct either. Your body is perfectly capable of swimming and digesting food at the same time, although you might feel a little queasy afterwards if you eat too much food. But then again, the same thing can be said for doing any kind of exercise after eating too much. People with red and blonde hair are going extinct. While this fact does have some basis of credibility, blonde and red hair genes are recessive, meaning if someone with blonde or red hair have a baby with someone with black hair, there's a super high chance the baby will have black hair as well. And so will all their kids. The simple fact of the matter is that, no, not unless everyone in the world with those genes dies or do not reproduce. They aren't going extinct anytime soon, since while it is a recessive gene, that just means it has a less chance of happening, not that it won't happen at all. The reason blonde and red hair people seem to be getting rarer is because of population increase. The Earth and all other planets in our solar system orbit around the Sun. This is actually not true, as surprising as that might be to hear. The planets in the Sun itself actually orbit around the solar system's center of mass, which just happens to be inside the Sun sometimes, and also sometimes outside of the Sun, but always very close to it. If you were to look at the planet's orbit and the Sun's own micro-orbit, you'd see that the planets pretty much ignore the movements of the Sun and orbit whatever the Sun is also orbiting. If the planets orbited the Sun, the orbits would change with the Sun, just like how the Moon's orbit changes with the Earth's. Frankenstein's name. In the original book of Frankenstein, the monster that was constructed with an assortment of human body parts and brought to life with electricity was never actually given a name. Frankenstein was the name of the doctor who made the monster. The monster in the book never gave himself a name either, and simply referred to himself as the monster. The monster in the book was also very eloquent. He spoke like he was part of a Shakespearean play and was very intelligent. I read the book many years ago, so I don't remember if they gave him an explanation on why he was so well spoken and philosophical. But the Frankenstein many people know today, and as portrayed in popular fiction, is a dumb brute who walks like a zombie. And his name comes from the many movies made about him which did indeed call the monster Frankenstein. If you've ever watched any cop show or movie, you've probably heard the phrase, "You must wait 24 hours before filing a missing persons report." That is simply not true. If you suspect that violence or unusual behavior is involved, it's actually best to call for help as soon as you can. Humans only have 5 senses: sight, hearing, touch, taste, and smell. But not only do scholars believe we have more than 5 senses, you'd be surprised just how many other senses we actually have. For instance, balance can be considered a sense, since it allows you to sense body movements, direction, and acceleration. Pain can be considered its own sense and has 3 subcategories: skin, joints and bones, and body organs. All 3 have their own unique senses. And then there's temperature, hunger, time, magnetoception. That one's the ability to detect magnetic fields. And many, many more. Christopher Columbus discovered that the Earth was round. Well, no, that was actually pretty common knowledge in his day, and pretty much the reason he set off on his journey around the other side of the world to find a shortcut to India, and found the Caribbean islands by mistake. He also didn't find America on his first journey. That's another fact that's not really true. Humans evolved from apes. Not really true. Humans actually evolved from a thing that just also happened to evolve into apes later on down the road. We didn't come from apes. More like the thing we did come from also happened to turn into apes. That's what it means to have a common ancestor. Koalas are bears. Koalas, despite being commonly known as koala bears, are marsupials and have no relations to bears. Witches were burned at the Salem witch trials. Nope, not really. Burning people was illegal in England at this time, and since the witch trials happened before the American Revolution, the colonies were subject to English law. Many were hanged instead, 19 people to be exact. One person was crushed by stones for refusing to plead either guilty or innocent, and many others died in jail awaiting trial. The myth of burning witches at the stake probably came from European witch trials, where many people were burned at the stake before it was made illegal.